Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. In today's video we are doing the sums. We are working out how many bales of silage did we actually make in 2024, because we've finished silaging now. We've done first cut, second cut and third cut. So we've done 3 cuts. We've made a lot of bales, more bales than we've ever made before, and we're going to find out how many exactly did we make, and also we're going to work out how much it costs per bale to make them bales. So it's basically, I think it's overestimated, the cost of making round bales of silage. People say it's a complete waste of money. We're burning money. People say we're burning money, throwing money away on plastic. I think you're overestimating. To everyone else, everyone out there that's saying that, I think you're overestimating that, because we've made clamp silage before. I've seen clamp silage before, and I've seen a lot of bad silage clamps made before. Lots of waste, lots of, carting trailer loads of waste and mould of bad silage that were on the top layers of the clamp, that's on the shoulders of the clamp. You don't get that with bales. That bale is fresh until the day you open that. Unless, of course, it's had a hole or a rip made in it when it was stacked and it's not been found. You do get that. You can get the occasional little bit of mould. Right, this bale's got a little bit of mould here. A little bit of mould. That's nothing major. That's not a problem. So these are first cut bales. So these have gotten later than they should be, so the quality of them's not brilliant. So they're very stalky. It's very stalky stuff. And we're currently, at this moment in time, feeding this to milk cows. Well, everything that's in. Everything that's in is getting this. And then at night, when the milk cows are shut up for milking, they're having a couple of bales of either second cut or these third cut bales over here, which are the ones you saw that I made the video saying the wettest, heaviest bales we've ever made. And you can obviously see that they've shrunk even more since they've been stacked. You know, they're stacked 3 high. Them bales are behind the first cut bales. They're also stacked 3 high, but there's like a bale's worth lost out of them. So there's a good 4 or 5 foot drop in them. They've just been squashed, and all this silage juice has run out of them. It does smell, but the cows are eating it and they do like it. And actually, since we've started feeding these bales, milk has actually gone up about 1 litre a cow. So compared with first cut, which was gotten later, third cut, they've been giving about 1 litre more a cow off that, even though it got rained on and it was a bit of a disaster. But we'll go inside now and we'll sit down, do some figures and work out actually how many bales we made and the cost of what it cost per bale to make. So we'll go and do that now. Right, hello everybody and welcome back. So this is actually a couple of days later, and just plainly because I forgot to finish the video off. Went on to do another job and just totally forgot. So in front of me, I have the full amount of bales we've actually made in 2024. So I'll put them up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So first cut, we made 3,175 bales of the main first cut. And then we did 5 acres of new seeds that we did, well, like last year's new seeds. So 12 months ago, just over 12 months ago, we ploughed a 5 acre field and put new seeds in. It was a high output, high input lay, which had got perennial ryegrass and westerwolds in it. It had been grazed a couple of times. It's had fertiliser and slurry, and we got 10 bales to the acre off it. So we got 52 bales off it, off 5 acres. So that takes the total first cut to 3,227 bales of first cut silage. we did make a few. The few of them were like hay, if that makes sense, and we've stacked them separate. So that explains that one. But still, that's a lot of bales of first cut. So that comes out at it'll just over 11.5 bales per acre, which is that's very good going for first cut. You don't normally get a first cut as good as that. So this year has been exceptionally good. An exceptionally good grass growing year early on. We've had a lot of wet weather, which does cause problems with quality, bearing in mind the quality and what have you. But it meant we had a good crop. We have plenty to go at. We've got more than enough first cut silage this year, and generally that repeats itself into second cut, because second cut. So we did 280 acres first cut. Second cut we did 190 acres, and we got 1,319 bales off 190 acres, which equates to 6.95 bales per acre. So that, for second cut, that's really good average. That the first half was really good of second cut, and the last bit was a bit less stronger on, but it was a crop at end of the day, and it's made some really good silage, and that's probably the second cut is probably the nicest silage we've made. We haven't had any analysed, but if it's good, we have fed a few bales of it, and if it's anything to go by how well the cows are eating it at those few bales that they've had, they really liked it, and it's really nice stuff, and it smells nice, and the weather conditions when we got it was near enough bang on perfect. Whereas first cut it was like 2 or 3 weeks later than it should have been due to the wet weather we had at the beginning of June, which meant we couldn't get it off when we wanted to, and so the quality had dropped in first cut, where the weather conditions were right, but the grass had seeded. It had gone too far. Basically, it wanted getting off like 2 or 3 weeks before we did get it off. That's purely mainly because of the weather. But second cut, I can't fault that. That came off in perfect conditions, and that is probably the best silage we have made this year. So yeah, we actually reached 6.95 bales to the acre on that, and then third cut. We did 459 bales, a third cut, off 80 acres, and we got 5.74 bales to the acre, which, again, for third cut, that's really good. That's the biggest third cut we've ever had. They were the wettest bales we've ever made. If you want to go back and watch the video, you can do. But the quality isn't as good as what it could be. But we are feeding a few of them bales to the milk cows at the minute, and the cows are really liking it. Don't know what it's going to analyse like, but we only made it like 3 weeks ago, so it's too early to say how good it is. But there is a lot of runoff off them bales. The wrap is supposed to be airtight and what have you, but it will leak out the wrap. My brother's feeding so many bales while I'm milking at night, and if anything to go by, he's saying there's water in the bales. Well, it's not water, it's effluent, and that is because it was baled. It got rained on. The weather forecast let us down, and just a bit of a disaster, really. But the cows like it, and that, at the end of the day, is all that counts. But we won't feed a complete diet based on that silage. They're better having, at the minute, the milk cows are having, say, like, I think he's feeding like 3 or 4 of them bales every day, and they're having some first cut silage as well, which is a lot drier, full of fibre, which has gotten later, so it's normally full of fibre when you leave it too long, and the quality of it isn't very good. But it's been cancelled out with some really, it's very dry first cut, whereas third cut's really wet, so it's balancing one another out. Well, we hope it is anyway. But we'll go on to the costs now, because I do get a lot of grief. I did make a TikTok a while ago, how many bales, I stood on top of the bale stack and there's a spin around of all the bales we've got. And I did post it on the YouTube short as well. Didn't take off on the YouTube short as it did on the TikTok, but the comments on the TikTok were like, "Oh, you've got hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of plastic there. You've broken the bank with all this wrap you've bought and what have you." We haven't broken the bank because I've got the actual cost here on how much it costs to make round bales. Now, because quite frankly, I think it gets blown out of proportion. They're saying, "Oh, it's costing too much to make. You should be better buying a silage pit or paying a contractor to build a clamp and then fill your clamp for you." The total cost in plastic was, well, for net wrap, worked it all out, done the maths, it's approximately £150 to £200 a roll for net wrap. That's a very rough approximate. Because just plainly because I haven't got the bill in front of me. But I know that is what it retails at roughly in bale net. And normally you get about 350 bales out of a roll of net, roughly. Sometimes you might get, it depends on how your bale is set up and how much net you're putting on. First cut, we normally just put 2.5 spins of net on the outside of the bale. And it equates to, well, I equated it between the maximum amount and the least amount of net they have on. So the least amount of net we put on, it would cost 42p per bale. The maximum amount of net is 57p. You know, there's not much in it really. So per bale, that's 42 to 57p per bale for putting net wrap on. That's note, is it really? Bale wrap, so the black or the green plastic that the bale wrapper puts on, it was £64 a roll, and you get 30 to 32 bales per roll. Roughly, we know what we can get out of a roll of net, out of a roll of wrap. That's for 16 spins of the wrapper, so 4 layers of wrap, and that costs between £2 and £2.13 per bale. So the total for net and bale wrap is about £2.56. So that's £2.56 to make 1 bale of silage just for the wrap. Now, obviously, you've got the running of the tractors and balers and whatever carting it, but I can't see there's going to be much in that compared with running a silage contractor, running a forager, silage trailers, butt rake, whatever, rolling the clamp. If anything, I think bales, you probably use less diesel because a tractor and baler is nowhere near going to use as much diesel as a forage harvester. Someone was telling me ages ago, a year or two ago, forage harvester, they know someone were a forage harvester, 1,000 litres a day that were burning. 1,000 litres of diesel a day. We don't use that in a month. You know what I mean? I think during first cut, we used I bet we only used about 2,000 litres of diesel, roughly. I'll have to work the sums out. If someone actually wants to know this, I could actually work it out. But in a day. Now, that's just a forage harvester. What about your tractors and trailers that are carting in? You're loading shovel on the clamp. You know what I mean? It's wow. No, if I can't, you're not going to use more diesel making bales. People say you do, but you can't. You do need more time. That is, I'll admit to that. You do need more time when you're making bales. Bales, it's a time-consuming job, and if you can't deal with the fact that you're having to pick every bale up and handle them like that, round bales aren't for you. So it's blown out of proportion because our total plastic bill for the year was about 12,000 roughly. I'm putting an approximate on that. We made 5,005 bales. I'm not sure if I've already said that already. But that's the total. We made 5,005 bales, so we did go past the 5,000 bale mark. But for over 5,000 bales, and the plastic bill was only 12. I mean, it's only 12. You know what I mean? It was 12. But to build you won't build a silage camp for 12 grand. You know what I mean? Then you'd have to sheet it. You've got your your black sheet, your black sheet, your cling film, your green sheet that goes on top. I mean, a lot of them you can actually reuse, but still. And not only that, I've seen lots of silage clamps with lots of waste on them. Colossal amounts of waste. Well, them bales I showed you earlier, they had a little bit of mould on them. If any, that's just nitpicking, really. Because if you put that in a ring, you will find that bit of mould in a few days. Cows won't eat that. They'll only eat it if you force them to eat it. And if they've got plenty of silage, they're not going to eat that. But yeah, that's just putting a sum on the end of this video, because I just thought I'd explain to everyone that bales are nowhere near as expensive as they think they are. It does help owning your own kit, your own machinery to do it. So we got our own mower, tedder, baler, wrapper, squeezies for picking them up and stacking them, loaders for stacking them, what have you. The tractors to run it. We've got all the kit to do it. So there's obviously, it costs less to do it yourself, but it's more time consuming. So unless you're prepared to outlay, because a round baler isn't cheap, all this machinery, if you've already got the machinery, you may as well do it yourself. That's the way we look at it anyway. And it works quite well. So the only thing I've not put down in this is the cost of growing the grass, because there is obviously a considerable cost in growing a crop of grass, because you've got the fertilizer, you've got slurry, your diesel cost in carting slurry and fertilizer, and weed killers, and just general stuff like that to maintain, get a good crop of grass. Because if you don't put fertilizer on, you don't put slurry on, you will see that in the yield of grass you get off the field. It will be significantly lower. But there's no difference in that than if you had a silage clamp, because you're still putting slurry and fertilizer on to get grass. It's just the way you're harvesting it, whether you're putting it in a clamp or into bales. So to sum it up, bales are nowhere near as expensive to make as what people make out. I had comments on the TikTok that I made saying, oh, you've got hundreds of thousands of pounds worth spent on plastic. We haven't. Compared with having to buy silage, though, if we had to buy silage, you'd either 12,000 on plastic wouldn't buy you much silage. It'd buy you a few hundred bales probably, and that would be that. But then someone's gone to the cost of making that for you, and they've gone through the hassle of dealing with the weather and stress and everything else. But still, for a stack of 5,000 bales, and it's only cost us £2.56 per bale, you know what I mean? It's not a massive amount of outlay. And at the end of the day, keeping that bale sealed with plenty of plastic and what have you is what makes good silage, because if it didn't have that plastic on, it'd just rot. So yeah, you want good quality plastic on anyway. So I'll leave the video as this. So if you've liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe below. And I apologise in advance for waffling on like I have about the cost of silage and etc. But I'll see you in my next one, and subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you don't mind. And thank you for watching. See ya. Bye.